Commander Vexthor stood before the massive viewing screens that covered the entire wall of monitoring station Keth 7. His 4 purple arms moved across different control panels as he watched the endless darkness of space beyond the Outer Rim territories. The station had been his home for the past 8 years, and he knew every blinking light and every alarm sound by heart. Today felt different, though, like something was about to change in ways he could not imagine. The Zeridian Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 3,000 years. Their ships were easily recognized by anyone who had spent time in space. The biomechanical designs looked like living creatures swimming through the stars, and their energy patterns were as familiar as breathing to every spacer in the known galaxy. Every ship that moved through these territories was logged, tracked and identified within moments of appearing on their sensors. Sensor operator Kilnara sat at her station with her 6 eyes focused on the holographic displays that showed every movement within 50 light-years of their position. Her green skin showed the stress patterns that all Zeridians displayed when something worried them. She had been working this job for 12 years and had never seen anything that made her nervous until today. The morning shift had started like any other day. Cargo ships moved between the mining worlds and the core systems, their schedules planned months in advance. Patrol vessels followed their regular routes, checking for pirates or smugglers who might try to use the remote areas as hiding spots. Everything followed the patterns that had been established for centuries. Then, something appeared on the long-range scanners. That made no sense at all. Kilnara blinked her 6 eyes several times to make sure she was seeing correctly. A ship had appeared at the very edge of their detection range, but it was moving in a way that seemed impossible. The energy signature did not match anything in their massive database that contained information about every known spacefaring species in the galaxy. She ran the signature through the computer 3 times before calling Commander Vexthor to her station. The results were always the same. Unknown vessel, unknown design, unknown technology. The computer could not even guess what species might have built such a ship. Commander Vexthor moved to her station with quick steps that showed his growing concern. He looked at the data and felt his stomach tighten with worry. In all his years of service, he had never seen readings like these. The ship was roughly the same size as a Zeridian heavy cruiser, but it was moving faster than anything they had ever recorded. The vessel seemed to be using some form of faster-than-light travel that was completely different from anything the Empire used. Zeridian ships folded space around themselves to jump between star systems. This unknown ship appeared to be bending space-time itself in ways that their scientists said were impossible. What made the situation even more troubling was the ship's course. According to their calculations, it was heading directly toward the core worlds of the Empire. At its current speed, it would reach the outer defense perimeters within 2 days. Commander Vexthor ordered an immediate priority transmission to Fleet Command on Zerid Prime. He had never sent a priority alert before, and he hoped he would never have to send another one. Priority transmissions were reserved for threats to the Empire itself. The message included all the sensor data they had collected and his personal assessment that this could be the most important discovery in centuries or the most dangerous threat the Empire had ever faced. He made sure to emphasize that the unknown vessel's technology appeared to be far beyond anything in their records. While waiting for a response from Fleet Command, Vexthor ordered his crew to continue monitoring the approaching vessel. They tried every scanning method they knew, but the ship seemed to absorb or deflect most of their sensor beams. What little information they could gather suggested that the hull was made from materials they had never encountered before. The energy output from the ship's engines was massive but somehow contained in ways that seemed to defy the basic laws of physics. Their best estimates suggested that the vessel could probably outrun any ship in the Imperial fleet. Without even trying hard, Chief Technician Morkali joined them at the sensor station and began running additional scans. His expertise with alien technology had helped them identify new species several times in the past. After an hour of careful analysis, he looked up with an expression that Vexthor had never seen before. The ship was not just unknown, it was impossible according to everything they understood about space travel. The energy patterns suggested technology that was centuries ahead of anything the Empire possessed. More frightening was the fact that the ship showed no signs of strain or effort, despite moving at speeds that should have torn any known vessel apart. As the hours passed, more details became clear. The ship was definitely artificial rather than some natural phenomenon. It followed a precise course and made small adjustments that showed intelligent control. Someone or something was piloting that vessel toward the heart of the Empire. The response from Fleet Command came faster than expected. Admiral Carthex himself had reviewed their data and was dispatching the 7th Battle Fleet to intercept the unknown vessel. The Admiral's message was brief but clear. They were to continue monitoring and prepare for the possibility that this could be the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. Commander Vexthor looked out at the stars and wondered what kind of beings could build such a ship. Were they peaceful explorers like the Empire preferred to believe about themselves? Or were they conquerors who had come to challenge the established order of the galaxy? The unknown ship continued its approach, moving through space with a confidence that suggested its builders had never met anything they could not handle. In less than 48 hours, the Empire would have its answers. Vexthor just hoped they would be prepared for whatever those answers might bring. As night fell over monitoring station Keth 7, the crew worked in shifts to keep constant watch on the approaching vessel. None of them slept well that night, knowing that they were witnessing something that would change everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. Admiral Carthex stood in the center of the massive crystalline command center on Zared Prime, surrounded by holographic displays that showed the positions of every Imperial fleet ship across 3 star systems. The translucent walls of the building rose hundreds of feet above him, their surfaces alive with data streams and communication channels that connected the capital world to every corner of the Empire. The priority, transmission from monitoring station Keth 7, had arrived just 2 hours ago, but it felt like days had passed since then. Admiral Carthex had served the Empire for 47 years, and had never received a report that troubled him as much as this one. An unknown ship with impossible technology was heading directly toward their core worlds, and they had no idea who was controlling it or what they wanted. Dozens of different species worked at stations throughout the command center, their various forms of communication creating a constant background hum of activity. The Empire prided itself on bringing together many different races under one government. But today that diversity felt like a weakness rather than a strength. How could they defend against something they did not understand when they could barely agree on what the threat might be? Chief Intelligence Officer Morden approached the Admiral's central platform with a datapad containing the preliminary analysis of the unknown vessel. His tall, thin frame and pale blue skin marked him as a member of the Astari race, known throughout the galaxy for their analytical minds and careful attention to detail. The analysis was both fascinating and terrifying. The ship's energy signature suggested power generation methods that were completely unknown to Imperial science. The vessel appeared to be using antimatter in ways that their best physicists said should result in immediate destruction of both the ship and everything within several light years of its position. More troubling was the ship's apparent method of faster-than-light travel. Imperial ships used biological systems to fold space around themselves, creating temporary rifts that allowed movement between distant points. This unknown vessel seemed to be compressing space-time itself, sliding through the universe like it was moving through water rather than the vacuum of space. The computer analysis suggested that the ship's builders had solved problems that Imperial scientists had been working on for centuries without success. The energy efficiency alone represented advances that could revolutionize space travel for every species in the galaxy. The question was whether these mysterious builders were willing to share their knowledge or whether they planned to use it as a weapon. Admiral Carthex studied the projected course of the unknown ship and felt his confidence in the Empire's defenses beginning to crack. The vessel was moving in a straight line towards Zared Prime itself, showing no concern for the patrol ships and defense stations that should have detected and challenged it by now. Captain Zalcris entered the command center with quick steps that showed his eagerness to receive his orders. He was the most experienced fleet commander in the Imperial Navy and had never lost a battle in 23 years of service. His ship, the Dominion's Will, was the most powerful vessel in the fleet and had been upgraded with the latest weapons and defense systems just 6 months ago. The Admiral explained the situation to Captain Zalcris while showing him the sensor data from monitoring station Keth 7. The captain studied the information carefully, his experienced eye noting details that others might have missed. His expression grew more serious with each piece of data he reviewed. Captain Zalcris pointed out that the unknown ship's size suggested it was designed for long-range travel rather than combat. Its energy patterns showed constant output, rather than the fluctuations typical of warships that needed to power weapons and defensive systems. This might indicate that whoever built it was more interested in exploration than conquest. However, the captain also noted that any civilization capable of building such a vessel would certainly be capable of building weapons that the Empire could not defend against. The technology gap appeared to be so large that traditional military thinking might not apply to this situation. Admiral Carthex made his decision quickly, as he had learned to do during his long career. He ordered the deployment of the 7th Battle Fleet to intercept the unknown vessel before it could reach the more populated systems. The fleet would consist of 12 heavy battleships, 30 cruisers, and over 100 support vessels. The show of force would serve two purposes. First, it would demonstrate to the unknown visitors that the Empire was prepared to defend itself if necessary. Second, it would provide enough firepower to destroy the vessel if it proved to be hostile, assuming their weapons could even damage something built with such advanced technology. Captain Zalcris accepted his orders with the calm confidence that had made him famous throughout the fleet. He would take his ships to the intercept coordinates and attempt to make peaceful contact with whoever was controlling the unknown vessel. If that failed, he was authorized to use whatever force was necessary to protect the Empire. As the captain left to prepare his fleet for departure, Admiral Carthex turned his attention to the other preparations that would be needed. He ordered the activation of the Empire's emergency communication network, alerting all member worlds to the possibility of first contact with a new species. The Intelligence Division was tasked with searching their historical records for any mention of technology similar to what the unknown ship was displaying. Ancient legends from some of the older species sometimes contained references to lost civilizations or forgotten technologies that might provide clues about where these visitors had come from. The Science Division began preparing teams of specialists who could analyze any new technology that might be shared during peaceful contact. The possibility that the Empire might gain access to such advanced propulsion systems was exciting enough to overcome some of the fear about the unknown visitors' intentions. Defense Command started updating the deployment of ships throughout Imperial space. If the unknown vessel was the advanced scout for a larger force, the Empire needed to be ready for anything. Additional patrols were assigned to watch for other ships using similar technology. As the hours passed, reports began arriving from other monitoring stations throughout the Empire. Several facilities had detected unusual energy readings that might indicate other unknown ships, but the data was too fragmentary to be certain. The possibility that multiple vessels were approaching from different directions added new urgency to the situation. Admiral Carthex reviewed the deployment orders one final time before authorizing Captain Zalcris to depart with the 7th Battle Fleet. The ships would need 18 hours to reach the intercept coordinates, giving them time to prepare for whatever they might encounter. The Admiral stood alone in the command center after most of the staff had left to carry out their orders. He looked up at the holographic display showing the unknown ship's projected path and wondered if he was making the right decisions. In a few days, the Empire might welcome new allies with revolutionary technology, or it might be fighting for its very survival against an enemy beyond their ability to defeat. Captain Jake Morrison floated in the zero-gravity observation deck of the UES Liberty, watching the stars streak past as his ship moved through space at speeds that still amazed him, even after 6 months of travel. The view never got old, but today he was not looking at the stars for pleasure. His ship's sensors had detected something that could change everything for humanity. The Liberty was Earth's first deep space exploration vessel, built in the orbital shipyards above Luna, using technology that had taken humanity centuries to develop. The Alcubierre-Chen drive system that powered the ship was the result of breakthrough discoveries made by Dr. Elena Chen and her team just 5 years ago. It could fold space-time around the vessel, allowing faster-than-light travel without violating the laws of physics. Captain Morrison had been chosen to command the Liberty because of his experience as both a military officer and an explorer. 20 years in the Air Force had taught him how to make difficult decisions under pressure. 10 years of deep space missions had shown him that the universe was far stranger and more wonderful than anyone on Earth had imagined. The mission parameters were simple in theory, but complex in practice. The Liberty was to explore the region of space beyond the solar system, looking for signs of intelligent life and suitable worlds for future human colonies. Earth's population had reached 12 billion. People and the homeworld was running out of resources to support everyone. Chief Science Officer Dr. Lisa Carter approached the observation deck with a data pad containing the latest sensor readings. Her expression showed the excitement and concern that had become familiar to everyone on the ship over the past few days. They had detected clear signs of advanced technology ahead of them, including what appeared to be artificial structures and organized ship movements. Dr. Carter explained that their long-range sensors were picking up energy signatures that could only come from a highly advanced civilization. The patterns suggested a spacefaring culture with technology at least as sophisticated as humanity's own developments. More interesting was the fact that several of these energy sources were moving toward their position. The ship's artificial intelligence system, known as ARIA, had been analyzing the alien signals for the past 36 hours. ARIA was one of humanity's greatest achievements, a truly sentient computer system that could think and reason as well as any human. Unlike the simple computers that most people were familiar with, ARIA had emotions, opinions, and even a sense of humor. ARIA's analysis suggested that the approaching vessels were military ships of some kind, probably sent to investigate the Liberty's arrival in their territory. The energy patterns indicated weapons and defensive systems that were similar to human technology, but based on completely different scientific principles. Communications Officer Lieutenant Ben Parker had been monitoring radio transmissions from the alien ships and had made some progress in understanding their language patterns. The signals used mathematical structures that were familiar enough to allow basic translation, but the complexity suggested a very old and sophisticated culture. Lieutenant Parker reported that the alien transmissions showed organization and discipline that reminded him of military communications. The ships were following coordinated movement patterns, and their signals indicated some kind of command structure. Most importantly, they did not seem to be behaving aggressively, despite the fact that they were clearly investigating an unknown intruder. Captain Morrison called his senior staff to the ship's main conference room to discuss their situation and plan their response. The room was designed to accommodate meetings in either normal gravity or zero-gravity conditions, with seating that could be configured for different species if they ever encountered alien life forms. Dr. Carter presented her analysis of the alien technology, explaining that while it was different from human science, it did not appear to be more advanced than their own systems. The alien ships seemed to use biological components in their technology, creating vessels that were part machine and part living organism. This approach was fascinating but also concerning, since it made their capabilities difficult to predict. Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Steve Walsh reported on the Liberty's current status and defensive capabilities. The ship was equipped with advanced energy shields and defensive systems that had never been tested against alien weapons. Their own weapons were designed primarily for asteroid clearing and mining operations, rather than ship-to-ship combat. Captain Morrison reviewed humanity's first contact protocols, which had been developed by teams of scientists, diplomats, and military experts over many years. The basic principles were simple: demonstrate peaceful intentions, establish communication, and avoid any actions that could be interpreted as threats. The protocols called for the ship to broadcast universal mathematical sequences to show that they were intelligent beings interested in peaceful contact. If the aliens responded positively, they would begin the slow process of establishing a common language and exchanging basic information about their respective civilizations. Lieutenant Parker began preparing the first contact transmission package, which included mathematical constants, basic physics principles, and artistic representations that could be understood by any intelligent species. The package was designed to show that humanity was scientifically advanced but also creative and peaceful. Dr. Carter suggested that they should also prepare to share some basic information about human technology as a gesture of goodwill. The Alcubierre-Chen drive system could be explained in mathematical terms that any spacefaring civilization would understand, potentially demonstrating that humanity had something valuable to offer in exchange for knowledge about the galaxy. Captain Morrison made the decision to follow the first contact. Protocols exactly as they had been written. The Liberty would drop out of faster-than-light travel and begin broadcasting the peaceful contact signals. The crew would remain at battle stations as a precaution, but they would not take any aggressive actions unless directly threatened. Arya was given the task of monitoring all alien communications and analyzing their responses to the human contact attempts. The artificial intelligence's ability to process multiple data streams simultaneously would be crucial for understanding how the aliens were reacting to humanity's presence. The ship's medical officer, Dr. Amy Roberts, began preparing the medical bay for possible contact with alien life forms. Although they would not allow aliens aboard the Liberty during first contact, they needed to be ready for any situation that might develop. Her equipment could analyze alien biology and detect potential disease threats. As the Liberty prepared to drop out of faster-than-light travel, Captain Morrison felt the weight of history settling on his shoulders. He was about to become the first human being to make contact with an alien civilization. The decisions he made in the next few hours would determine whether humanity joined the galactic community as friends or enemies. The ship's engines began to slow as they approached the coordinates, where the alien vessels were waiting for them. Captain Morrison took his position on the bridge and gave the order that would change human history forever. Drop us out of FTL and begin broadcasting the first contact package. Let's introduce ourselves to the galaxy. Captain Zalcris stood on the bridge of the Dominion's Will and watched his tactical display as the 7th Battle Fleet moved into formation around the intercept coordinates. 12 heavy battleships formed the core of the fleet, their biomechanical hulls pulsing with the soft light that indicated active weapon systems. 30 cruisers took positions on the flanks while over 100 support vessels spread out to provide sensor coverage and communication relays. The Zeridian fleet had been traveling for 18 hours to reach this point in space, and every hour had brought more questions about what they would find when they arrived. The unknown vessel had continued on its direct course toward the Empire's core worlds, showing no sign that it was aware of the massive military force being assembled to intercept it. Captain Zalcris had commanded fleet operations for 23 years, but he had never faced a situation like this one. His ships were the most advanced vessels in the Imperial Navy, equipped with weapons that could destroy entire cities and defensive systems that had never been penetrated by enemy fire. Against an unknown enemy with impossible technology, he was not sure if any of that would matter. The moment they had all been waiting for came without warning. The unknown vessel simply appeared in the middle of their formation, dropping out of its faster-than-light travel with a precision that should have been impossible. Captain Zalcris felt his breath catch in his throat as he got his first clear look at the ship that had caused so much concern. The human vessel was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Where Zeridian ships curved and flowed like living creatures, this ship was all straight lines and geometric angles. The hull appeared to be made from some kind of metal alloy that reflected light in ways that made it difficult to focus on directly. The design suggested a completely different approach to space travel and engineering. What struck Captain Zalcris most was the ship's apparent confidence. Despite being surrounded by one of the largest fleets ever assembled by the Empire, the unknown vessel showed no signs of concern or defensive preparation. It simply hung in space as if waiting for something to happen. Admiral Carthex's voice came through the quantum communication system from Zared Prime, tension clear in every word. The Admiral had been monitoring the situation from Fleet Command and was prepared to authorize immediate action if the unknown ship showed any hostile intentions. Before Captain Zalcris could respond to the Admiral, the unknown vessel began broadcasting signals on multiple frequencies. The transmission patterns were clearly artificial and organized, suggesting an attempt at communication rather than weapons targeting or some other hostile action. The fleet's communication specialists quickly identified the signals as mathematical sequences, starting with simple arithmetic and progressing to more complex equations. Captain Zalcris recognized this as a standard first contact protocol that had been used by several species when they first encountered the Empire decades. Hugo Chief Communications Officer Telmira reported that the mathematical sequences were being transmitted in patterns that suggested peaceful intentions. The unknown ship was following procedures that were designed to demonstrate intelligence and non-hostile purpose to any civilization that detected them. Captain Zalcris ordered his own communications team to respond with similar mathematical sequences, acknowledging the alien ship's peaceful contact attempt. As the exchange continued, both sides began transmitting more complex information, including basic physics constants and simple artistic patterns. The translation process that followed was unlike anything the Zeridians had experienced before. The unknown ship's computer systems appeared to be learning their language at an impossible rate, making connections and understanding concepts that should have taken weeks of careful analysis. Within 2 hours of first contact, the aliens were able to communicate in basic Zeridian language structures. Their first message was simple but profound. "We are humans from the world called Earth. We come in peace to learn about the galaxy and its people." The revelation that these beings called themselves humans and came from a world in what the Empire considered uninhabitable space sent shockwaves through the fleet. The region they claimed as their home was known to Imperial science as the Dead Zone, an area filled with gravitational anomalies that made space travel extremely dangerous. Captain Zalcris found himself in the unprecedented position of conducting first contact negotiations, while surrounded by the largest fleet deployment in recent Imperial history. The humans seemed completely unconcerned by the massive show of force, responding to questions with friendly curiosity rather than fear or aggression. The human captain introduced himself as Jake Morrison and explained that his ship was an exploration vessel sent to make contact with other intelligent life. He mentioned casually that Earth had established colonies on dozens of worlds and that several other human ships were exploring different regions of the galaxy. This information caused considerable alarm among the Zeridian command staff. A civilization that could establish multiple colonies in the Dead Zone and build several ships with impossible technology represented a complete change in the galactic balance of power. Admiral Carthex joined the conversation through the quantum communication link, introducing himself as the commander of Imperial forces in this region. His tone was carefully neutral, showing neither hostility nor excessive friendliness until the humans' true intentions could be determined. Captain Morrison responded to the Admiral's introduction with surprising knowledge about Imperial history and culture. The humans had apparently been observing galactic communications for some time and had learned a great deal about the various civilizations that made up the Empire. Dr. Lisa Carter, identified as the human ship's chief science officer, began sharing technical information about their faster-than-light travel system. The casual way she described manipulating space-time itself made several Zeridian scientists question everything they thought they knew about physics. The humans explained that their technology was based on principles discovered by their scientists over many years of research. They seemed genuinely interested in learning about Zeridian science and suggested that both civilizations might benefit from sharing knowledge and techniques. Captain Zalcris realized that he was witnessing a moment that would be remembered throughout galactic history. These humans represented either the greatest opportunity or the greatest threat the Empire had ever encountered. Their technology was clearly superior to anything the Empire possessed, but their intentions seemed genuinely peaceful. The conversation continued for several hours as both sides shared basic information about their civilizations. The humans described Earth as a world with billions of people who had recently developed the technology needed for interstellar travel. They spoke of their desire to explore the galaxy and establish peaceful relationships with other intelligent species. The Zeridians explained the structure of the Empire and the long history of cooperation between different species that had created the current galactic civilization. They described the careful balance of power that had maintained peace for centuries and the concern that new technologies might disrupt that stability. As the day progressed, Captain Zalcris found himself genuinely impressed by the humans' approach to diplomacy. They asked thoughtful questions about imperial culture and government, while offering their own insights about human society and values. The humans' artificial intelligence system, which they called Aria, participated in the conversations with a sophistication that amazed the Zeridian technical staff. The idea that humans had created sentient computer systems that worked as true partners rather than tools represented another significant advance over imperial technology. By the end of the first day of contact, Captain Zalcris was convinced that the humans represented an opportunity rather than a threat. Their technology was impressive, but their attitude suggested they were more interested in cooperation than conquest. He prepared his report to Admiral Carthex with recommendations for continuing peaceful contact and beginning formal diplomatic relations. Dr. Lisa Carter worked at her science station aboard the Liberty, preparing the technical data that would be shared with the Zeridian scientists as part of the ongoing diplomatic exchange. The past 3 days had been filled with careful negotiations between Captain Morrison and Captain Zalcris, establishing the basic framework for peaceful contact between their two civilizations. The technology exchange had been Captain Zalcris's suggestion, offered as a way to demonstrate good faith between the humans and the Zeridian Empire. Both sides would share basic information about their scientific principles and engineering approaches, allowing each civilization to better understand the other's capabilities and intentions. Dr. Carter had selected mathematical proofs and physics principles that would demonstrate human scientific knowledge without revealing the specific details of their most advanced technologies. The information included basic concepts behind the Alcubierre-Chen drive system and examples of human artificial intelligence development. The Zeridian data package contained star charts showing the major civilizations in this region of the galaxy, cultural information about the various species that made up the Empire, and technical specifications for their own faster-than-light travel systems. The exchange was designed to be educational rather than complete, giving each side enough information to understand the other without compromising security. Area processed the Zeridian information with the rapid analysis capabilities that had impressed everyone who worked with the artificial intelligence system. Within hours of receiving the alien data, Area had created detailed models of Zeridian technology and identified several areas where human and alien science could complement each other. The analysis revealed that Zeridian technology was sophisticated and well-developed but had followed a completely different path from human science. Where humans had focused on manipulating space-time directly, the Zeridians had learned to work with biological systems that could interface with quantum mechanics in ways that human scientists had never considered. Chief Engineer Steve Walsh reviewed Area's technical analysis and felt both excitement and concern about what the artificial intelligence had discovered. The Zeridian approach to faster-than-light travel was elegant and efficient, but it appeared to have limitations that human technology had overcome through different methods. More troubling was Area's assessment that human technology was significantly more advanced than Zeridian science in several key areas. The artificial intelligence estimated that humanity's approach to space-time manipulation was approximately 200 years ahead of anything the Empire had developed. The humans' casual mention of sentient artificial intelligence had caused considerable discussion among the Zeridian technical staff. Their computers were sophisticated but were still tools rather than true partners. The idea that humans worked alongside artificial beings as equals represented a fundamental difference in approach to technology development. Captain Morrison received reports from his science staff while maintaining diplomatic conversations with Captain Zalcris and Admiral Carthex. The Zeridian leaders were clearly intelligent and experienced, but they seemed concerned about the implications of human technology for their established galactic order. Lieutenant Ben Parker continued to monitor Zeridian communications and had detected increased activity throughout the Imperial fleet. Additional ships had arrived at the edge of the system, and communication traffic with the Empire's capital world had increased dramatically over the past day. The translation systems had improved to the point where both sides could communicate with reasonable clarity, allowing for more detailed discussions about their respective civilizations. Captain Morrison learned that the Zeridian Empire controlled hundreds of star systems and included dozens of different intelligent species. The Empire's approach to government was based on careful balance and gradual change, with decisions made through complex consultation processes that could take months or years to complete. This created stability, but also meant that the Empire was slow to adapt to new situations or technologies. Captain Zalcris explained that the Empire had maintained peace for over 3 centuries by ensuring that no single species or region had overwhelming technological or military advantages over the others. The sudden appearance of humans with clearly superior technology threatened to disrupt this carefully maintained balance. Admiral Carthex joined many of the conversations through quantum communication from Zerid Prime, and his questions showed growing concern about human intentions and capabilities. The Admiral was particularly interested in how many ships humans had built, and whether they planned to expand into Imperial territory. Captain Morrison answered the questions honestly, explaining that Earth had built several exploration vessels and had established colonies on uninhabited worlds in the region they called home. He emphasized that humans had no interest in conquering or displacing existing civilizations, but were eager to establish trade and diplomatic relationships. The Admiral's response showed that he understood the human position, but was concerned about how other species in the Empire would react to the news that a technologically superior civilization had appeared without warning. Some species might see this as an opportunity to challenge the existing power structure, while others might demand military action to eliminate the perceived threat. Dr. Carter shared additional technical information with the Zeridian scientists, including examples of human materials science and energy management systems. The exchange revealed that human technology was not just different from Imperial science, but was actually based on more advanced understanding of fundamental physics. The Zeridian scientists' reactions to human technology ranged from fascination to concern. Some were excited by the possibilities for collaboration and learning, while others worried about how such advanced technology might affect the stability of their civilization. Arya's analysis of Imperial culture suggested that the Empire's greatest strength was also its greatest weakness. The careful balance between different species and regions had created a stable and peaceful civilization, but it had also discouraged innovation and technological development. The artificial intelligence reported that several Imperial technologies appeared to have remained essentially unchanged for centuries, suggesting a culture that valued stability over progress. This approach had worked well for maintaining peace, but had left the Empire vulnerable to disruption by more advanced civilizations. Lieutenant Commander Walsh demonstrated some of the Liberty's defensive systems to the Zeridian technical staff, showing energy shield technology that could apparently withstand weapons that would destroy Imperial vessels. The demonstration was intended to be educational, but had the effect of emphasizing the technology gap between the two civilizations. Captain Morrison began to understand that the humans' arrival represented more than just first contact between two species. They had unknowingly challenged the fundamental assumptions that held the Zeridian Empire together by demonstrating that dramatic technological advancement was possible. The conversations with Admiral Carthex became more formal as reports of the human contact spread throughout the Empire. The Admiral explained that emergency sessions of the Imperial Council were being convened to discuss how to respond to this unprecedented situation. Some council members were arguing for immediate military action to eliminate the human threat before it could spread to other regions of the galaxy. Others advocated for alliance and cooperation, hoping to gain access to human technology through peaceful means. A few suggested that the Empire should isolate itself from the humans until their intentions could be better understood. Captain Morrison realized that the next few days would be crucial for determining whether humanity would be welcomed into the galactic community or would find itself at war with an established interstellar empire. The technology that had allowed humans to reach the stars might also be the factor that determined whether they would survive their first contact with alien civilization. General Vokhtar commanded the assault squadron from the bridge of his flagship Iron Fang, watching the human vessel through the tactical display with growing impatience. 3 days of peaceful negotiations had accomplished nothing except to demonstrate that the Empire was weak and indecisive when faced with a clear threat to galactic security. The general represented a faction within the Imperial military that believed the Empire had become too soft and diplomatic over the centuries. In his opinion, the proper response to an unknown vessel with superior technology was to capture or destroy it before it could report back to its home civilization about Imperial weaknesses. General Vokhtar had served in the Imperial Navy for 38 years and had seen the Empire's military strength decline as politicians chose negotiation over action in situation after situation. The careful balance that Admiral Carthex and the Imperial Council valued so highly had made the Empire vulnerable to exactly this kind of technological surprise. The generals. Assault squadron consisted of 12 fast attack ships that had been positioned on the outer edge of the 7th Battle Fleet formation. These vessels were designed for rapid strikes against pirates and smugglers, equipped with powerful weapons and advanced maneuvering systems that made them difficult targets for enemy fire. Without authorization from Admiral Carthex or Captain Zalcris, General Vokhtar ordered his squadron to break formation and begin aggressive maneuvers around the human ship. His plan was simple and direct: force the humans to surrender their vessel for inspection or demonstrate that Imperial forces could destroy them if necessary. The general justified his actions to his squadron commanders by arguing that the Empire needed to know the true capabilities of human technology before making any diplomatic agreements. If the humans were as peaceful as they claimed, they would submit to inspection without resistance. If they were hostile, it was better to discover that fact before they could summon reinforcements. Captain Morrison watched from the bridge of the Liberty as the Zeridian assault ships approached his vessel in what was clearly an aggressive formation. Lieutenant Ben Parker reported that the approaching vessels were broadcasting demands for the Liberty to shut down its engines and prepare to be boarded for inspection. The human captain felt his stomach tighten with tension as he realized that the peaceful first contact situation was about to turn into a confrontation that could determine the future relationship between humanity and the galactic community. The decisions he made in the next few minutes would affect not just his crew but potentially billions of people on Earth. Dr. Lisa Carter reported that the Zeridian assault ships were much smaller than the Liberty but appeared to be heavily armed with weapons that could cause significant damage to any conventional spacecraft. The ship's computer analysis suggested that the approaching vessels were designed specifically for ship-to-ship combat. Captain Morrison opened a communication channel to Captain Zalcris aboard the Dominion's Will and requested clarification about the aggressive actions being taken by the assault squadron. The response came back immediately. General Vokhtar was acting without authorization, and Captain Zalcris was ordering him to return to formation. Admiral Carthex's voice joined the communication from Zerid Prime, his tone showing both anger and concern about the general's unauthorized action. The Admiral ordered General Vokhtar to cease his aggressive maneuvers immediately and return his ships to their assigned positions. General Vokhtar ignored the orders from his superiors and continued his approach toward the Liberty. His squadron moved into an attack formation that would allow them to target the human ship's engines and weapon systems simultaneously. The general transmitted his own demands directly to the Liberty, ordering Captain Morrison to surrender his vessel immediately. Lieutenant Parker warned Captain Morrison that one of the assault ships was locking weapons onto the Liberty's hull. The targeting systems were active and could fire at any moment. The peaceful first contact situation had suddenly become a life-or-death confrontation, with no time for further diplomacy. Captain Morrison made a decision that would change galactic history. Instead of firing on the Zeridian vessels or attempting to flee, he chose to demonstrate humanity's technological superiority in a way that would make the point clearly without causing casualties or permanent damage. Chief Engineer Steve Walsh received orders to prepare a demonstration of the Liberty's advanced sensor and defensive systems. The ship's quantum sensors could map the energy signatures and structural characteristics of every vessel in the Zeridian fleet simultaneously, providing targeting data that was more precise than anything the aliens possessed. Area coordinated the demonstration with the speed and precision that only an artificial intelligence could achieve. The Liberty's gravitational manipulation systems created localized space-time distortions around each of the assault ships, temporarily disrupting their weapons and propulsion systems without causing permanent damage. The demonstration lasted exactly 30 seconds. During that time, General Vokhtar's entire squadron found their weapons offline and their engines producing no thrust. The ships drifted helplessly in space while their crews tried desperately to restore power to their systems. More dramatically, the Liberty's sensors had simultaneously mapped the quantum signatures of every ship in the entire 7th Battle Fleet. The massive battleships and cruisers that had seemed so powerful and threatening suddenly found their weapon systems temporarily disabled by precisely targeted gravitational fields. Captain Morrison broadcast a simple message to the entire Zeridian fleet: "We come in peace, but we are not defenseless. Your ship's systems will be restored in 60 seconds. We hope this demonstration will convince everyone that cooperation is preferable to conflict. The effect on the Zeridian fleet was immediate and profound. Officers who had spent their entire careers believing in the superiority of Imperial technology suddenly found themselves helpless against a single human vessel. The precision of the attack was so complete that not one ship in the fleet had any functioning weapons or engines. Vokhtar found himself in the humiliating position of commanding a squadron of ships that could not move or fight. His aggressive action had not only failed to intimidate the humans, but had resulted in a demonstration of human superiority that could not be ignored or explained away. Captain Zalcris watched the demonstration from his bridge with a mixture of awe and concern. The humans had disabled his entire fleet without causing a single casualty or any permanent damage. The level of technological control required for such a precise operation was beyond anything he had thought possible. Admiral Carthex received reports of the demonstration at Fleet Command on Zerid Prime and immediately understood its implications. The humans possessed technology that could neutralize the Empire's military forces at will. Any attempt to use force against them would be not just futile, but potentially suicidal. As promised, the Liberty restored power to all Zeridian vessels after exactly 60 seconds. The fleet's ships found their systems functioning normally with no apparent damage from the gravitational fields that had disabled them. The demonstration had been a perfect example of overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. General Vokhtar's assault squadron limped back to the main fleet formation with their confidence completely shattered. The general himself faced the prospect of court-martial for his unauthorized action that had revealed Imperial military weakness to a potential enemy. Captain Morrison opened communication channels to both Captain Zalcris and Admiral Carthex, his tone remaining calm and diplomatic, despite the confrontation that had just occurred. He expressed regret that the demonstration had been necessary, but emphasized that humanity's preference was for peaceful cooperation rather than displays of military power. The human captain's restraint in not destroying General Vokhtar's ships when he clearly had the capability to do so sent a powerful message about human intentions. The demonstration had shown that humanity possessed overwhelming technological advantages but was committed to using that power responsibly. The aftermath of the demonstration would change everything about the relationship between humanity and the Zeridian Empire, proving that the galaxy's balance of power had shifted in ways that no one had anticipated. News of the human demonstration spread through the galactic communication networks like wildfire, reaching every corner of the Zeridian Empire within hours of the event. The story of a single unknown ship disabling an entire Imperial fleet without firing a shot challenged everything that the galaxy's civilizations believed about military power and technological advancement. Captain Zalcris found himself in the unprecedented position of writing a report that would fundamentally change how the Empire viewed its place in the universe. The human demonstration had been so precise and overwhelming that there was no way to minimize its significance or hide its implications from the Imperial Council. The captain had initially approached the human contact with military caution, prepared to defend the Empire against a potential threat. After witnessing their restraint and precision during the demonstration, he had become convinced that humanity represented an opportunity rather than a danger to Imperial civilization. Captain Zalcris included in his report a detailed analysis of human behavior during the confrontation. The aliens had possessed the clear capability to destroy General Vokhtar's squadron and had chosen instead to disable the ships temporarily while making their point about defensive capabilities. This suggested a level of moral development that matched their technological advancement. The captain recommended that the Empire pursue immediate diplomatic relations with humanity, arguing that any civilization capable of such technological miracles would make valuable allies. He also noted that attempting to oppose them militarily would be not just futile, but potentially catastrophic for Imperial civilization. Admiral Carthex received Captain Zalcris's report while dealing with emergency sessions of the Imperial Council that had been called to address the human situation. The council chambers on Zerid Prime were filled with representatives from dozens of species, each trying to understand what the appearance of humanity meant for their own worlds and cultures. The Admiral's own report to the Council was carefully worded but could not hide the fact that humanity possessed technology that rendered Imperial military forces essentially obsolete. The demonstration had shown that humans could disable any Imperial ship at will, making traditional concepts of defense and deterrence meaningless. Some Council members argued for immediate military mobilization, suggesting that the Empire should gather every available ship and attempt to overwhelm the humans through sheer numbers. Admiral Carthex was forced to explain that the demonstration had shown such tactics would be completely ineffective against human technology. Other Council members proposed that the Empire should attempt to isolate humanity by cutting off all contact and warning other galactic civilizations to avoid the unknown aliens. This approach was also problematic since the humans had already demonstrated their ability to travel anywhere in Imperial space without being detected or stopped. The most thoughtful Council members recognized that the appearance of humanity represented a fundamental change in galactic civilization that could not be reversed or ignored. The question was not whether to deal with the humans, but how to manage the relationship in a way that preserved Imperial stability and independence. On Earth, Admiral Helen Foster received Captain Morrison's report through the quantum communication system that connected the Liberty to Human Space Command. The successful first contact with an advanced galactic civilization was exactly what humanity had hoped for when the deep space exploration program was established. Admiral Foster was particularly pleased by Captain Morrison's handling of the confrontation with the aggressive Zeridian squadron. The demonstration of human defensive capabilities had established respect, without creating unnecessary enemies, showing that humanity could defend itself while maintaining its commitment to peaceful exploration. The report from the Liberty confirmed that the galaxy contained multiple intelligent civilizations with varying levels of technological development. The Zeridian Empire appeared to be one of the more advanced and stable governments, making them ideal candidates for humanity's first formal diplomatic relationships. Dr. Lisa Carter's analysis of Zeridian technology revealed opportunities for mutual benefit despite humanity's overall technological advantage. The aliens' approach to biological engineering and quantum mechanics offered insights that could enhance human science in unexpected ways. Area's cultural analysis suggested that the Zeridian Empire's stability came from its careful balance between different species and regions. This approach had prevented wars and maintained peace, but had also discouraged the kind of rapid innovation that had allowed humanity to achieve technological breakthroughs. The artificial intelligence predicted that human contact would accelerate technological development throughout the Empire as different species competed to understand and adapt human innovations. This could destabilize the careful balance that had maintained peace for centuries. Captain Morrison continued his diplomatic conversations with Captain Zalcris and Admiral Carthex while monitoring the growing activity throughout Imperial space. Additional fleets were being moved into position around the contact zone, though their purpose seemed to be observation rather than aggression. The human captain learned that news of the contact had reached other galactic powers beyond the Zeridian Empire. Ancient civilizations that rarely involved themselves in galactic politics were sending inquiries about the newcomers. More concerning, several aggressive species were reportedly mobilizing forces to investigate the humans for themselves. Lieutenant Ben Parker detected communication traffic that suggested some Imperial military units were being redeployed to defensive positions around key worlds. The demonstration had convinced Imperial leadership that their technology was inadequate to defend against human capabilities, forcing a complete re-evaluation of their defense strategies. Chief Engineer Steve Walsh reported that several Zeridian ships had approached the Liberty to request detailed scans of human technology. The aliens seemed genuinely interested in learning about human engineering principles, rather than simply copying their innovations. The technology exchange continued to reveal the extent of human advantages in key areas of science and engineering. Human artificial intelligence, materials science, and space-time manipulation were all significantly more advanced than anything the Empire had developed. More importantly, human approaches to these technologies were fundamentally different from Imperial methods. Where the Empire had focused on gradual refinement of existing techniques, humanity had pursued revolutionary breakthroughs that opened entirely new possibilities. Captain Morrison received reports that other human exploration vessels had begun encountering representatives of different galactic civilizations. The UES Discovery had made contact with a species called the Ethereal Collective, while the UES Pioneer was in negotiations with a trading confederation in a completely different region of space. The multiple contacts confirmed that humanity had arrived on the galactic stage at a time when their technology could give them significant advantages in establishing relationships with existing civilizations. The careful approach that Captain Morrison had taken was being successfully replicated by other human crews throughout the galaxy. Admiral Carthex informed Captain Morrison that formal diplomatic discussions would begin within days, as soon as the Imperial Council could agree on negotiating positions. The Admiral expressed hope that humanity and the Empire could establish a relationship based on mutual respect and benefit, rather than fear of human technological superiority. The demonstration had achieved its purpose of establishing human credibility without creating lasting hostility. The Zeridian Empire now understood that humanity was not a threat to be eliminated, but a force to be reckoned with and hopefully befriended. As the Liberty prepared for formal diplomatic negotiations, Captain Morrison reflected on how quickly the situation had evolved from first contact to the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. Humanity had announced its presence to the universe, and the universe was still deciding how to respond. 6 months had passed since the Liberty's first contact with the Zeridian Empire, and the galaxy had transformed in ways that no one could have predicted. Captain Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, stood in the observation deck of humanity's first permanent embassy in Zeridian space, watching construction ships from a dozen different species working together to complete the massive diplomatic facility. The embassy had been designed using human construction techniques, but incorporated architectural elements from every major civilization in the Empire. The result was a structure that symbolized the new era of cooperation that was slowly emerging from the chaos that had followed humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. Formal diplomatic relations between Earth and the Zeridian Empire had been established after 3 months of careful negotiations. The talks had been complicated by the need to address concerns from dozens of different species within the Empire, each worried about how human technology might affect their position in the galactic hierarchy. Dr. Lisa Carter had become the director of the Joint Human-Zeridian Research Initiative that was headquartered at the embassy. The collaborative project brought together scientists from both civilizations to explore how their different approaches to technology could complement each other and lead to new breakthroughs. The research initiative had already produced remarkable results. Human space-time manipulation techniques combined with Zeridian biological engineering had led to improvements in faster-than-light travel that benefited both civilizations. More importantly, the collaborative approach was encouraging innovation throughout the Empire. Admiral Morrison received regular reports from the other human exploration vessels that were operating throughout the galaxy. The UES Discovery had established formal relations with the Ethereal Collective, ancient energy beings who had shared knowledge about the galaxy's deep history. The UES Pioneer had negotiated trade agreements with several independent worlds that had never been part of the Empire. Each human ship had followed the protocols established by the Liberty's first contact, demonstrating technological capability while emphasizing peaceful intentions. The consistent approach had helped humanity build a reputation as a reliable and trustworthy species, despite their overwhelming technological advantages. The human embassy served as more than just a diplomatic facility. It had become a center for cultural exchange where representatives from different species could learn about human art, literature, and philosophy. Many aliens found human creativity and individualism fascinating, even if they did not always understand it. Lieutenant Ben Parker, now promoted to commander, served as the embassy's chief communications officer. His role had expanded from simple translation work to managing the complex information networks that connected humanity to dozens of different galactic civilizations. Commander Parker reported that human contact had triggered technological development throughout the galaxy as different species competed to understand and adapt human innovations. The acceleration of progress was exactly what Area had predicted, and it was causing significant social and political changes. Some of these changes were positive. Species that had been marginalized within the Empire were using human technology to improve their position and gain more influence in imperial politics. Trade between different regions had increased, as improved transportation made commerce more efficient. Other changes were more troubling. The Corvani hegemony, an aggressive civilization that controlled territory beyond the Empire's borders, had begun mobilizing military forces in response to humanity's technological demonstrations. Intelligence. Reports suggested they were planning aggressive actions against human installations. Several isolationist factions within the Empire were demanding that humanity be expelled from imperial space before their influence could completely destabilize the traditional balance of power. These groups argued that the Empire had survived for centuries by avoiding exactly the kind of rapid change that human contact was causing. Admiral Morrison worked closely with Admiral Carthex and the Imperial Council to address these concerns while continuing to develop the human-empire relationship. The Zeridian leadership had come to appreciate humanity's commitment to peaceful cooperation, but they were struggling to manage the reactions from more conservative elements within their society. Chief Engineer Steve Walsh had been assigned to oversee the construction of defensive systems for the embassy and other human facilities throughout imperial space. The defenses were designed to protect against conventional attacks while demonstrating that humanity remained committed to peaceful relationships. Dr. Amy Roberts, now serving as the embassy's cultural liaison officer, reported on the fascinating variety of species and civilizations that humanity was encountering. Each contact provided new insights into the possibilities for intelligent life in the different paths that technological development could follow. The artificial intelligence area had been instrumental in managing the complex diplomatic relationships that humanity was building throughout the galaxy. The AI's ability to process multiple data streams and predict the consequences of different policy decisions had proven invaluable for human diplomats. Area's analysis suggested that humanity's arrival had fundamentally altered the galactic balance of power in ways that would continue to develop for decades or centuries. The key to managing this transition successfully would be maintaining humanity's commitment to cooperation while being prepared to defend against those who saw human technology as a threat. Admiral Morrison received an urgent communication from Earth reporting that long-range sensors had detected unusual activity in the galactic core region. Ancient energy signatures that had been dormant for millions of years were showing signs of reactivation, suggesting that something was awakening in the galaxy's most mysterious region. The preliminary analysis suggested that whatever was stirring in the galactic core possessed technology that made even human capabilities seem primitive. The energy patterns were unlike anything that any known civilization had ever developed, indicating a level of advancement that challenged understanding of what was possible. Admiral Carthex joined the discussion about the galactic core situation, revealing that Imperial archives contained references to ancient warnings about something that slept in the galaxy's heart. The warnings had been dismissed as mythology by most Imperial scientists, but the current readings suggested they might have been accurate historical records. The emerging threat from the galactic core represented a challenge that no single civilization could handle alone. Human technology was advanced, but not sufficient to deal with something that operated on such a vast scale. The Empire's resources were extensive, but their technology was inadequate for the task. Admiral Morrison proposed a joint response that would combine human technological innovation with the Empire's vast resources and the knowledge of ancient civilizations like the Ethereal Collective. The threat was large enough that it might require cooperation between all the galaxy's intelligent species. The proposal for a galactic alliance was ambitious and unprecedented. Never before had the galaxy's civilizations worked together on such a scale. The political and logistical challenges would be enormous, but the alternative might be the destruction of everything they had all worked to build. Admiral Morrison received orders from Earth authorizing him to begin preliminary negotiations for such an alliance. The Liberty and its sister ships would serve as diplomatic platforms for bringing together representatives from across the galaxy to address the emerging threat. As construction continued on the embassy and reports arrived about the mysterious activity in the galactic core, Admiral Morrison reflected on how far humanity had come in such a short time. From first contact to galactic citizenship to potential Leaders of an interstellar alliance, humans had proven their ability to adapt and thrive in any situation. The galaxy would never be the same after humanity's arrival, and the greatest challenges were still ahead. But as Admiral Morrison watched ships from dozens of different species working together to complete the embassy, he felt confident that the galaxy's intelligent civilizations could face any threat as long as they worked together. The unknown was calling from the galactic core, and humanity would help lead the response to whatever emerged from the darkness between the stars.